I'm like, what's the dream of? What's the hope in? What's the doubt for? Live to no end. This is living. The life I've been given is a gift. If I'ma live it, I'ma live it to death. So what's the dream of? What's the hope in? What's the doubt for? And live to no end. This is living. The life I've been given is a gift. If I'ma live it, I'ma live it to death. Yeah.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Living Hope Agency call, October 10th, Monday. Excited, calling in here from the East Coast, and I'm excited for our special guest here tonight, Mr. Logan O'Brien. Logan is somebody that I've got the pleasure to get to know here over the last year, and it's just so cool to see how his production has increased, how his disciplines have gotten just so much crazier as he's continued to build this business, and how much better he's gotten at this business. You guys are going to learn that what he does, it's very simple, it's very straightforward, but there's a lot of confidence that comes from doing it over and over and over again. So I'm excited to have Logan O'Brien on the call, who helped 92 families last month in the month of September. Logan, how we doing, man?
Doing great, Jamie. Thanks for having me.
Hey, man, good to have you. Hey, there's a bunch of people on here who most likely don't know who you are. Yeah, there are some podcasts if you guys want to learn Logan's story more in depth, but just give us a little spark notes of how you heard about Family First Life, and really what was attractive about it to you, and kind of what industry you came from before this.
Yeah, I'd love to. I was in the car business before this for pretty much since out of high school. And out of high school was nothing wrong with college. I just didn't want to go to college. And my dad always told me growing up, you learn sales, you'll never be without a job, right? So got out of school, started selling cars, and then kind of started doing my own thing in the car business in 2016. And then 2020 hit, and there was no inventory, and I could no longer control my income. And there was all of a sudden a ceiling on, like, essentially how many leads I could buy, right? So I found FFL on TikTok, and it was Andrew Taylor's podcast. And I go, I don't know about this. It looks a little too good to be true. I forget about it for a week, see it again. I go, okay, I'll check out the YouTube channel. So started watching the YouTube channel, and I go, well, these are real people. It's real stories. And I DM'd Andrew Taylor, and he got back to me in like a minute. And I was like, cool. And he got me connected. I studied for the tests in like 6-7 days, passed it by 1 point, and I was ready to roll, man. And I remember my first couple in-person appointments, I was contracted with maybe like, I don't know, only AIG. And I just didn't care. I just want to get out there and get over like the nervousness of it and stuff like that. But yeah, it's been great so far. I think I'm on my 10th month now.
I love it, man. So only passed the exam by 1 point, guys. So it doesn't really matter how many times you fail. It doesn't matter how good of a score you get. All you got to do is pass. That's all that matters. And once you get into this ecosystem and you can learn from top producers, from top managers, you can learn the word tracks. That's what it's really all about. It's not about memorizing definitions. It's not about some fancy presentation where you try to wow people with your insurance knowledge. It's just about having a heart to serve and, having a work ethic to actually, put in the work enough to learn what it takes to protect a family. So when you first got started, Logan, you came out the gate swinging, for a new agent, I think you did, relatively well, came out the gates and pretty quickly had, your first 20 family month, and you did a little bit of hybrid. You went in person, you went and started to just kind of dabble with the telesales thing. And now you're 100% telesales. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. 100% telesales. And what would you say probably your average month was if you look back, taking out some of your biggest months? What would you say your average month has been over the last 10 months?
Between 20, 30.
Between 20 to 30 families. Okay. So in order to go from 20 to 30 families to 92 families in a month, something obviously had to change. And there's some people out there who they're just trying to help their first 20 families. So before we talk about how you went from 20 families to 90 families, talk about what does somebody have to do to help their first 20 families to get to that first stepping point? Because I believe that first stepping point of 20 families is you kind of have that light bulb moment of like, oh crap, like I can sell insurance. Like I can actually help families. And then there's going to be some things I'm sure you're going to share in regards to your reps, your lead flow, et cetera, that can help you just kind of turn up the dial. Cause I don't really believe that most people are much better than a 20 to 30 family producer in the first place. Like, I think like for me and you and Candy, like we're all 30 family producers. We just do a couple of extra things to kind of turn up the dial and multiply those results. But what does it take for someone to kind of get to that first level where they have that light bulb moment of like, oh man, I can do this?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, this is just based on my experience, but I think you have to burn the ships and go in full time. Like there's a lot of people I see here that, you know, and it's fine if you're still working a part-time job and you want to invest in leads, but it's just something like if you want to build the skill set fast, like you talk about, it's just something you need to go all in with, you know, and some people have that obsessive nature. Some people don't. If you do have it, like stop being obsessed with the wrong things and get obsessed with this, you know? And that's just how I've always been. I know sales is a very tough industry, but it's really tough if you suck at it. If you're good at it, you build the skill set, you put the reps in, it's the best job ever, right? So in the beginning for me, it was all about just getting enough leads, failing forward, learning every day, and it's pretty much the same thing now, right? Yeah.
What would you say the formula is from a appointments per week lead flow for someone to help 20 families in a month?
Appointments per week. I mean, whether it's, you know, in person or over the phone, I think it's pretty similar in ways. From an appointment perspective, I mean, I would say at least 20 appointments a week if you're working 7 days a week.
Okay. Gotcha. So if that's the formula, so at 20 family, if you do 20 appointments a week, and now let's say 10 of them just totally no-show you. They're not there whatsoever. They don't answer the phone. They're not at the door. And 5 of them straight up tell you no, got to think about it, don't want it, but you help 5. You do that 80 appointments in a month, 25% closing ratio ballpark, about 50% of the ones you sit with. That's not anything crazy. But then you start hearing from some of these people where their confidence goes through the roof through doing repetitions, where their closing ratio even goes up past that, where you get people who are sitting down with 10 people and they're closing 6, 7, 8, 9 out of 10 people that they're sitting with. So obviously those numbers can change, but I think it's pretty simple that when you have leads, guys, at the end of the day, there's no fancy presentation. There's no convincing somebody why they need life insurance. They called you, they filled out the lead card. They already knew they needed life insurance. They knew why they needed life insurance. It's your job to pull that out of them and help fill the need. So at the end of the day, anybody who's willing to put in the reps, anybody who's willing to put in the work and get those 20 appointments, get those 30 appointments, you're going to fall on some sales. You're going to make some sales of some people who they already needed it. And then there's that group in the middle where, let's say you close 3 out of 10, to get to 5, 6, 7, 8 out of 10, it takes obviously a little bit of skill set, and that comes with repetition. And now, Logan, you've gone from, 30 families a month to now 90 families in a month. Like, what changed there? I mean, there's so many things we could dig into, because I'm sure there was a change in mindset. I'm sure there was some sort of a change in lead flow. I'm sure that your schedule looks a little bit different in the last 5 weeks than it did for the previous, 10 months. So, I mean, let's just talk mindset. I mean, did you have like a light bulb moment, something happened where you just said, you know what, I'm just sick of playing small and I'm ready to go all in, or what?
Yeah, well, I think it's just the skill set finally caught up with how many leads I was getting, right? Because it's like this weird point. I think I was buying too many leads when I was new, but I wanted enough shots, right? So as you build the skill set and you buy the same amount of leads, or if you're increasing that, as your closing ratio gets better, you become more profitable. So I really just had to give myself, a good 5 to 6 months to become profitable enough to where I could keep doing that, but my closing ratio would get better, right? Also in the beginning, I wasn't working most Saturdays and Sundays. I was taking those off. So that makes a big difference too. But for example, you could have one day stacked with appointments, 9 appointments in the day over the phone or in person, everyone no shows you all day, and then that last one hits. That was my day yesterday. Appointments from 8 to 7. Everyone no showed me and rescheduled except for the 7. Right. So, and then some days it's different. Some days you have 10 appointments and you talk to them all and you get 3 no's and you get 4 families helped. Right. So I think it's really just about giving yourself enough time for your skill set to get good enough to where not only can you become super profitable, but you can, like you talk about, just kind of make money at will.
I mean, that's a fact. I mean, if you let your skill set catch up with you guys, it's a powerful thing when you can just say, you know what, I'm going to go to work today. And regardless of what the results are today, I didn't forget how to sell life insurance. Just some days it goes like that, and sometimes we get in our mind and we say, you know what, I had a bad day. And, you had 8 out of 9 appointments no show you. And when you're coming to that 9th appointment, you're like, man, did I just get lucky these last couple months? Was it a fluke? And then the last one hits, you're like, okay, great. I didn't forget how to sell life insurance. It's the way it goes. And I think that one of the coolest things about this business is it's so redeeming so quickly. You can have such a bad day or such a bad week, and all it takes is one appointment. All it takes is one good week, one good month to put you on track to do just to do something amazing. So you talked about the skill set catching up with the amount of leads that you were buying. What would you say your typical lead flow looked like, or what does it look like now? Did you do anything different in the last 30 days, or you just feel like it was 100% an increase in skill set this month?
I think it was just an increase of, so I run into like 20% of people that I talk to are going to say yes, no matter what. 20% are going to say no, no matter what. And 60% are the maybe people, right? So where you get really good here is where you can take the 60% of maybes and turn them into yes people, right? Or turn them into laydowns, or, whatever you want to call them. And it's not always your fault, right? I used to say 4 types of buyers, but there's 5, right? So there's the laydowns, the people who say yes no matter what, right? There's buyers in power, there's shoppers, quote people, there's mistakes. And the 5th one, the new one, is people who want what they can't have, right? So the 80-year-old man who wants $1 million policy, but there's nothing out there for him, right? So it's not always your fault. But I think it's really about taking those maybe people and figuring out how to turn them into the yes people,
So how do you do that? I mean, I think it really comes down to probably setting expectations on the phone. It comes down to reducing sales pressure. I mean, what are a couple of tips that you can give somebody to be able to turn those maybes into yeses? Because at the end of the day, turning those maybes into yeses, a lot of the times they are yeses. They're just people who are maybe a little bit more hesitant to buy. They're a little bit more hesitant to give out their personal information. They're a little bit more hesitant to, they don't want to be sold. If you guys have ever heard, the age old saying, everybody loves to buy, but they hate to be sold. That's me. I'm like the worst person where I want to buy everything. But if I have somebody come at me and start selling me too hard, I turn off, especially I just moved to a new place. We've had to put a lot of new things in our house. Anytime we go somewhere and someone comes at me super hard, I don't want to buy. So how do you reduce sales pressure? What are some things that you do to help turn some of those maybes into yeses?
Yeah. So I've been really just trying to focus on and get better at, number one, reducing sales pressure, right? Like, we're in sales, but we don't want anyone to know that. So I'm not using certain words in my vocabulary. I'm not saying, hey, just following up, hey, just checking in. Because, like, especially with the older people, everyone they've ever talked to that's a salesperson has said that, right? So I'll say things like, how are things going in your neck of the woods? Or what have you been up to today? Or, stuff like that. Stuff that's more like a salesperson wouldn't say. And then I've also cut down my pitch or presentation to about like by half pretty much. And I've started asking a lot more questions that lead the prospect the way I want them to go, so that they can persuade themselves and see the gap of why they need this, so. And then also, when you have enough appointments, you can kind of have that neutral, detached, carefree attitude of whether you don't care if they get it or not. Right. And that kind of, they can sense that, whether it's in person or, over the phone, they can sense when someone is desperate for a sale. Right. So a lot of it's just been, just keep learning. Like the YouTube resources we have here is great. The training's great, but If you guys aren't doing training outside of FFL, or you're not investing into courses, books, stuff like that on other, sales trainers, then you don't want to be, the greatest, right? Because what do we want to do? We want to get the edge over other people who are calling these people or meeting with these people in person. I can't tell you guys how many H leads I talk to. They have a terrible experience, the previous agent, because they're using sales tactics from the 1980s, So a lot of it's just been about focusing on increasing my skill set, buying enough leads, and just getting in front of enough people.
I'm just gonna throw a couple questions at you that are happening here in the chat right now. Are you setting same day appointments? Are you setting next day appointments? Are you doing one call closes? And do you have someone setting the appointments for you?
Yeah. So same day appointments and next day. So I'll try never to do more than a day out, right? My dial day starts at 8 a.m. for about an hour, 2 hours, depending on the day. I can set those same day appointments in the morning, right, for that day. And then if I have overflow, it's on to the next day. And it just keeps people, fresh in their mind and stuff like that. And then what was the second half?
Were you doing one call closes, but you did answer that. And do you have anybody setting the appointments for you, or are you doing it yourself?
No, I'm doing it myself. So I do a mixture of calling, texting, voicemail.
Have you ever tried to have somebody set appointments for you?
No.
Okay. I just want to do a quick disclaimer here. Okay. So there's nothing wrong with hiring a dialer if, big asterisk, if they are somebody who is helping add more appointments to your schedule, not somebody who you are using because you want to avoid doing the work. Okay, I think that's something that's super important. There are certain stages in your business you build up to where you have more responsibility. You start to build an agency. I personally, we have a team of about 150 agents. I've never personally had a dialer. I still 100% set my own appointments. We can't say the same about other people at different levels in this business. And there's nothing wrong with having a dialer unless you're hiring a dialer because you're trying to avoid doing the work. At the end of the day, this is the most important skill set that you can have in insurance, is learning how to set appointments, learning how to talk to clients on the phone, and trying to avoid the work. Trust me, it doesn't work. Maybe it'll work for a little bit, but then you'll start to build a team, and then they're going to ask you how to dial because they can't afford $500, $1,000 a week for a dialer. And then you can't teach them because you're not doing it. And it's just, at the end of the day, I typically say, learn it first. And if you get to a point where you have somebody who you say, hey, I need someone to help supplement, just add a few more appointments on top for me. Hey, fill in the gaps for me when I have a couple of no-shows. That's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're ever finding yourself having the mindset of I'm trying to avoid dial day, then you're in the wrong mindset when it comes to having a dialer. And now, if you guys have ever listened to Logan on live dials, he's a professional. He crushes it. And at the end of the day, when he gets somebody on the phone, when he gets past that person who, hey, I didn't want it, I didn't fill it out, but the person who actually stays on the phone past the first 3 sentences, he probably books like 90% of the people he talks to because he's done it so many times. So there's power in learning how to set your own appointments. The other thing is, nobody cares about my appointments more than me. Nobody cares about Logan's appointments more than him. A dialer is going, you say, I want 30 appointments a week. They'll get you 30 appointments a week, but they'll set anything as an appointment. Maybe it's an appointment. I might be there. I might answer. Those are all appointments. But at the end of the day, for me, I'm going to have to pay them no matter what, but I need to get paid. So I need to have good appointments. So I like to set good appointments. I know for me, I'd rather set 20 good appointments where 18 of them are there than get 30 appointments where only 15 of them are there. That's my personal preference at the end of the day, to each their own. Another quick question. What type of leads do you work in? CRM, live transfers, mailers, final expense?
Yeah. So in the beginning, the first 4 months, I was doing only age leads, right? So 1 month, 3 month age internet leads. The 5th month, I started buying new leads, and I noticed, my profit margins are going down. And boy, these leads are kind of competitive compared to the one that was calling. So I've went back to all age leads now.
Okay. So what kind of age leads are available? Because obviously we know age internet leads. What else
age internet leads, age mortgage protection leads, call-in silvers. You guys could venture off. You could try happy agent leads. I've done plenty of those. There's a bunch of sources for sure.
Okay, here's a question from Mel. How many times would you dial a lead?
4 times.
4 times in a row or 4 times in total?
Well, I used to do 3 times, but I find out in a row 4 times they answer more.
I agree.
So the first dial, I'll let it ring 3 times, hang up, because telemarketers don't do that. And then I'll dial 3 times. If they don't answer on the 4th one, then I just leave them a voicemail.
Okay, leave them a voicemail, and then do you come back to them multiple times in a day? If you don't get a hold of somebody, are you following up with your old lead list on the next dial day?
You know, that's something I'm still debating because I don't like following up personally, but I just buy more leads and that's fine. But if in the beginning I was, because I was trying to get the most out of everything I could.
Totally. I mean, I think in the beginning, when you haven't developed the skill set, you do kind of have to squeeze every little piece of juice out of every lead purchase that you get, because it's 100% about return on investment. That's how you survive in this business. Is, are you going to make something off of that lead list to be able to reinvest back into more leads? But at the end of the day, when you've developed a skill set where you can help 90 families a month, you're like, whatever, more leads, more leads, more leads. Because I know that if I have 100 leads, there's a 100% guarantee that I'm going to pull X amount of families out of that list of leads, and I'm going to be able to keep going from a profitability standpoint. So when you start having a little bit more money to be able to invest into this business, you can decrease the amount of time that you're spending on the phones setting appointments, because you're able to get more leads. Whereas I could bang the same 50 leads over and over again for 12 hours, and maybe I get 6 appointments out of it, or I have 150 leads and it turns into 18 appointments. You know, it's just math, guys. So it's super, super simple, but you can't be afraid to dial someone more than once. I think that's important. I had, you know, some big realizations as I was getting started in this business, that nobody's going to jump through the phone and bite you. I mean, at the end of the day, if somebody does, you know, it's very easy to be able to decrease that pressure on the other end of the phone. You know, I've had people where I've called them, you know, I remember I was afraid to triple dial, and Grady was like, I want you to sit here and I want you to dial this next lead 8 times in a row. And I was like, 8? I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like, that's insane. And I called this person 8 times in a row, and on like the 7th dial, they answered like, what do you want? And I was like, hey, I was actually just trying to leave you a voicemail, but it kept hanging up on me. Anyways, this is Jamie getting back to you. And then it just like, they calmed down. Or, hey, you know, I'm actually calling from a computer. I don't know. Must have been a glitch. I apologize. Anyways, this is Jamie getting back. And you reduce the sales pressure, and you just don't care. People are going to bite you, you know, on the phone, but they can't actually get through the phone. And I can't tell you how many times I've called people, you know, 10, 20 times in a row just to prove a point on live dials that it doesn't matter, and book the appointment. So don't be afraid to dial somebody 3 times. If you're afraid to, I'll say this, if you're afraid to dial someone 3 times, start dialing them 4 times. Like, that's got to be the mindset that you have, because you have to get over that fear of hitting people up multiple times in a row. Question from James: how do you not become desperate for a sale when you know you need the money?
Just act like you're not desperate for the sale. Just act like you don't care if they get coverage or not. You know, you're just the boring application guy. You know?
Okay. I love it. How do you reduce your no-shows?
I mean, if they don't show up, or if you rebook more than twice, then it's probably not a person you want to do business with anyway. So
simple. What books are you reading? Or I'll expand upon it. What else are you studying outside of Family First Life?
Honestly, on social media, I just try to follow as many like resourceful stuff as possible, and I'll just pick up bits and pieces from there, and certain courses, and I'll figure out how to implement into this, and, you know, evaluate. A lot of it's just evaluating yourself after each call and going, okay, what can I do better? I closed a deal, but I messed up a lot in that call. Like, so I would even recommend not just recording yourself while you're setting appointments, but if you're doing over the phone or even in person, record yourself in the appointment so you can figure out how you can get better. It's like
100%.
watching film, you know, like sports players do.
100%, dude. I remember when I was in elementary school, we were learning how to read, and they brought out these old school recording devices, like a tape recorder, and we would record ourselves reading a paragraph out loud. And I remember the teacher played it back for me, and I was like, that's not me. Like that's not my voice. There's no way that's me, because I sucked at reading apparently, but I thought I was really good at reading. And I remember listening to that, shocked that that was me. And I think there's a bunch of people out there who think that they're saying the right things on the phone. They think they're saying the right thing in their presentation, the right thing in the home, and they're really not, but they're convinced that they are. I'm saying it exactly like Logan says it. I'm saying it exactly like Kasha says it. I'm saying exactly like Peter says it, but you're really not. And it takes that self-awareness and that ability to actually be able to go back and like get honest feedback. And that's why live dials is important, for someone else to hear it, or recording yourself and sending it to somebody, or even just listening it to yourself. Because I remember hearing myself and going, wow, like that doesn't sound good. I should probably get better at reading, you know? And I remember I was like, I don't ever want to hear that again. And I think it's, some of y'all will have that same experience if you recorded a presentation of yourself and we're like, wow, that actually wasn't very smooth, and you're like cringing at yourself dialing or doing the presentation, then you know you got to get better. And you compare it to somebody else, you know, go record your own live dial session and then go watch Easton Patton live dial and go, okay, am I any good? And you have to have that level of I guess criticism on yourself. And that's how you get better. You have to be willing to just look at yourself and say, you know, am I a student of the game? Am I really trying to get better? Another couple questions, man. What is your verbiage that you say in your texts and your voicemails?
Yeah, so the text is pretty straightforward. It's just, hey, this is Logan. I'm your assigned medical underwriter for your state. Just wanted to let you know that, you know, we got your request. It only takes 15 minutes over the phone to take care of. Around what time works for me to call you? That's just the first text. And then the voicemail is some people might be scared to leave this voicemail, but it's pretty much, hey, Jamie, hey, this is Logan. I'm the manager over at the final expense office. Unfortunately, this is one of the last courtesy calls we're going to give you before we send someone out to the property. So just trying to mitigate that, so we can just take care of this over the phone instead. Just give me a call back and you can. Thanks, bye.
Man, I'm
But
calling
they
back.
will call you back and they'll give you a yes. They'll either be super mad or they will say, yeah, I forgot about that.
Uh-huh. No, that's good. I love that, especially for anybody who's doing telesales. I'd write that down. Hey, I'm just giving you a courtesy call right now. This is one of the last times we're going to call you back before we send somebody out to the property.
Yeah,
Like
and quick
a little
shout out to Brody Pompey for that, by the way.
That's good. No, it sounds a little intimidating, and it's like I'm definitely calling back. Back coming to my house.
Yeah, but it's always they, Jamie. It's always they.
Yeah, they are going to send somebody out to the property.
Right.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. How would you balance part-time before going full-time? What would be a good part-time schedule? And I'm curious to hear your answer, because you're already like, you should just go full-time. But if you had somebody that had to be part-time, could you answer that question?
Yeah, it's a tough question for me. Just because when I'm in something, I'm in it, right? But if you are in that situation, I would write out a schedule. When I got back from Miami convention last year, or this year actually, but 9 months ago, I wrote out a schedule of what I'm doing every single waking hour of the day, right? So your days off that you're not working your other job, you need to be in the dial room, you need to be setting appointments, you need to be running appointments. And if you don't stick to that, then it's like, we could lead you to the water here. We can't make you drink it, but you got to set yourself up for success. You got to write out a schedule. You got to figure out why you want to do this, why you want to be successful at this. And that's going to really push you to be there when, those days come.
I love it. How do you handle people who say they already have it?
Yeah, most people have at least one policy. Most of my clients are just looking to either add some coverage or just reduce their monthly premium. So it's, a little more budget friendly. What'd you have most of your attention on?
Yeah, see, that's good because it's assumptive. I think that's one of the best things that you can learn, guys, in phone sales, in home sales, whatever it is learning how to be assumptive. When somebody says they already have it taken care of, some people, it's like their panic alarm goes off. They're like, oh crap, they already have it. And now it's like, I have to beat it. And it's like, you don't necessarily have to beat it, because it's like they knew that they already had it when they filled out the lead. I think that's one of the most important mindsets that you have to have, is they already knew that they had life insurance, or they already had their life insurance taken care of when they filled out the lead. So when you're assumptive, it's like, yeah, perfect. Most of the people who call us, most of the people who fill these out already have life insurance. Here's what most people are typically looking for. They're looking to either figure out if they can, add another policy on top, see if they can save some money on their premiums. And it's not, hey, are you interested in getting another policy? It's, hey, which one of these options is you? I'm assuming that you're like most of my clients, and most of my clients already have insurance and they just want to get more coverage, or they want to reduce their premium, whatever it is. I'm assuming that's you. Which one is it? And you're opening up the door for them to tell you which one of those people they are. Hey, well, I just got it taken care of yesterday. Okay, perfect. Totally understand. Yeah, most of our clients, they're also looking for a second opinion. They want to make sure they get the best opportunity, the best price for their family. I'm assuming you're looking for the best price for your family, correct? And it's like, hey, I can beat the deal. No, I'm assuming you were looking for the best price for your family, correct? Yes. Okay, perfect. Here's what we're going to do. Take control, so super, super simple. Let's see here. From Greg, I've been getting people sometimes lately. I'll call them once and leave a voicemail followed up with a text. They'll reply back through the text something like stop. What do you do then? I know it's most likely because they got bombarded by others before me through vendors who sell one lead to multiple agents.
If they text me stop or some mean stuff, then I just call them, because they're not going to be as tough over the phone as they are in text, and definitely not as tough in person if you want to door knock them.
Yeah. I think the other thing is, if someone texts you stop, or if someone's mean over the phone, I think you have to kind of break the pattern. I think you have to do something that a telemarketer wouldn't do. Like you have to, if
Send
I
them a
call
selfie video, do something crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Why
Do
not?
something crazy. Like literally, whether it's you call them 25 times in a row just to be able to say the sentence, I'm not a telemarketer, and then continue on with your script, or you send them a picture of your driver's license or your state license. Like, I've done all kinds of things just to try to break the pattern, to be like, I see a lead that comes in local, and I'll be like, I'll tell them the cross streets that I live near, to try whatever it is, just to try to reduce that sales pressure. So if you get someone who says stop, sometimes you just have to do something to let them know that you're like a real person. Or sometimes I'll even try to make them feel bad, where it's just like, hey, listen, like I'm just trying to get back to you. Like, this is my job that they make me do. And, so it's all about reducing the sales pressure and not trying to come on too strong. Let's see here. Have you used Ethos yet?
I haven't, but I'm contracted with them.
Okay, cool. And Ethos, for anybody who doesn't know, guys, Ethos is, it's a tech company. They're not a life insurance company, but they have some really cool technology that connects clients online to a couple of different life insurance companies. You can get close to $2 million in term, simplified issue within 15 minutes. It's really cool. If you have old leads, they've got some awesome text and email campaigns you can plug people into. If they click your link and they go buy on their own, because they don't want to do an appointment with somebody, they just wanted something simple, and they buy, you get paid. And if they ever, you could send them an email campaign over the next year, and if they ever click your link once, even if they don't buy, they're now getting retargeted on Facebook, Instagram, Google. Anytime they pull something up, Ethos is going to come up. And if they ever, unless they clear their cookies, if they ever click on that Ethos link and they buy, you get paid. It's the coolest thing in the world. So if you guys aren't using Ethos yet, it's actually pretty amazing. Let's see here. Do you think it's possible to get over call reluctance? I've been struggling with it for far too long now. So just basically afraid of dialing. To get over, is it possible to get over it? I mean, I think that's a yes, but I mean,
the first, even for me, I mean, the first dial of the day is going to be the hardest, right? Like, or even the first appointment. But yeah, next thing you know, you're 50 calls in, and it's just like, it's the subconscious stuff, right? So it's just about doing enough of it. Everyone is, I don't care who you are, I don't care if you've been in sales 40 years or whatever, everyone's scared to pick up the phone, especially in the new industry at first. You're not as confident, you haven't built the skill set, but you just keep doing it, failing forward, and it'll get easier. Because some days I have appointments just through text. I miss dialing the phone. I miss people hanging up on me and stuff like that. So I really like doing it now, but you got to get to a point where you just realize this is the law of averages is going to work it out if you call enough people.
Totally. I also think when you get good at it, it becomes more fun. Because
Yeah.
when you get good at it, it almost becomes a little bit more entertaining. For me, like I wake up and I go to dial day and I'm like, what crazy thing is somebody gonna say to me today? And how am I gonna somehow be quick on my feet to just swat that crazy thing away and get right back into my script and get back to business? And it's like you just get really good at swatting the BS away. And it gets fun. It's like no matter what they throw at you, you swat it away and keep moving. And it just becomes a fun thing to do when you're good at it. And, Logan said it in the beginning, this can be one of the best or the worst sales jobs on the planet. It really can be. It can be the highest paid sales gig on the planet or the lowest paid sales gig, the most fun sales gig or the worst sales gig. Really, any sales can be. It just comes down to, are you willing to be a student of the game and get good at it? Because if you're willing to get good at it, it can literally be the best. But if you're not willing to get good at it, it is like suffering on another level. It's not fun. It's not fun at all. Okay, how much did you spend on leads to help 92 families?
Last month.
Yes.
So total expenses, 11 grand.
11 grand. So I mean, that's a really good ROI at the end of the day. 11 grand in, 92 out. I mean, that's a 9x on your money, which is pretty insane. I would say average new agent, they're typically getting like a 3 to 5x on their money. To be able to 9x your money takes repetition. It takes doing it over and over and over and over again until the law of averages starts to work in your favor and you get better. Let's see here. Last couple questions. Are you using Phone Burner?
I have mixed feelings on Phone Burner. I think it's great if volume wise, but I get more pickups these days from just calling for my caller ID.
Fair enough.
But I will use it every now and again when I don't have enough appointments on the board. I need to dial through people really fast.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's just a reality of what's going on in the world today, guys. It's not something anyone's trying to hide, but these cell phone carriers are getting much better at blocking phone calls and calling them spam. There's different things that you can do. I mean, do you have any tips or tricks, Logan, for what you do other than just dialing from your caller ID to try to reduce people saying that you're spam on their phone? Do you text people beforehand? Hey, this is Logan. Like, have you done any of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I really like freecallerregistry.com. That's my favorite one. They make sure your caller ID stays on there. They report to all the phone companies that it's you. And I've had my number, same number since I started here, and all my clients say it shows up as my full name. So that's good to have. Number two, a lot of the people I text have an iPhone. If you don't have an iPhone, I would get one, just because, like, if the client has an iPhone and you have an iPhone, it's just more likely. It sounds weird, but it's just more likely chance they'll respond to another iPhone, right? Other than that, I mean, that's all I got for that.
Okay. So that was freecallerregistry.com.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically what you're doing is you're calling from your personal cell phone, but you're registering it on freecallerregistry.com. And I mean, I notice now, if anybody's gotten new iPhones, you have Verizon. I don't know if it's Verizon or if it's an iPhone thing. I mean, even like we had a couch get delivered the other day, and the truck driver called me and it had his full name on there. It's a call that I've never seen before, and it's a contact that I don't have, but his first and last name was there. So that's definitely, something probably worth doing, because if the name comes up rather than spam likely, that's obviously a big deal and much higher likelihood that somebody's going to answer the phone.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I've tried both ways. I've tried having 10 different numbers for 10 different states. Me showing up as my full name is just the best thing I've found, just for trust. And then if you guys are going to hand jam it and hand dial, let it dial 3 times first and hang up. That's really worked well for me. And don't be afraid to call more than 5 times. Like, Jamie, I've seen you call someone like 10 times in a row and then they answer. Yeah. You book the appointment. So it's like, don't be afraid to call too many times.
Also, I'll just add this on there. If somebody answers the phone and they don't let you get through your first couple sentences of who you are and why you're calling, they don't even know why they're hanging up. So if that ever happens to me, I'll call you back 37 times. I don't care. You're letting me get through my first 3 sentences, and you're at least going to tell me, no, you're not interested in life insurance. You're not just going to click the phone off because I'm a telemarketer and you don't want to talk to me. I think that's important, is if you get someone to answer the phone and they know who you are and why you're calling, and then they say no, I'll move on to my next lead. But if they get on the phone, I don't even get a chance to say who I am, don't get a chance to say why I'm calling, I'll call you back a million times in a row. It doesn't matter until I get bored, or until I realize it's not a good use of my time and I need to move on to the next lead. Because I can't tell you how many times that I've got on the phone with someone and I've called them, they've answered, they've been mad, they hung up, called them, they answered, mad, called them, answered, they're like, don't call me again, call them again, finally get them on the phone, finally get out my first couple sentences of who I am and why I'm calling. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I thought you were somebody else. I filled out a bunch of different things. I thought you were the car warranty guy. Oh no, I do need the life insurance. I'm so sorry. Or I looked up the dude's name on, free people search or whatever, the people search website. And I found his wife's phone number. And then I called the wife and I was like, hey, your husband's been hanging up on me about the life insurance. She's like, oh, he just thought you were somebody else. We actually do really need it. So like, don't be afraid to call people back and make sure they know why you're calling. But there's just a lot of fear. There's a lot of fear around, what are these people going to think about me? And I think you kind of have to get over that pretty early on if you want to be in sales. You can't care what people think about you. Logan, final thoughts for somebody who is just, they haven't gone all in. They're on that tipping point of all in or all out.
Like you just said like 5 minutes ago, like, if you're gonna be here, why not just do the best you can? Like, you're gonna have the bad days anyway, like you're gonna mess up anyway, you're gonna be selling policies anyway, you're gonna be protecting families anyway, so why not just get super good at it? It'll be a lot more fun if you do, it'll provide a lot more for your family and your future if you do, and we have, like, compared to other IMOs or whoever out there, we have great opportunity here when it comes to culture, when it comes to compensation, when it comes to team building. It's bar none. So why not just, take advantage of it? But I think if you are in that position, you really need to sit down and figure out why you actually want to do this, what you actually want it to provide for your life, in all ways, and just really do some deep digging, because that's really what's going to drive you to buy more leads at the end of the day and run more appointments and work on Sundays when you don't feel like working, is, why you're here. So
I love it, man. Thank you so much for joining us. Logan, I'm just checking right now and I'm showing that for the year, you've helped 311 families for the year. So we're about 89 families off of Hall of Fame. So we're rooting for you, man. We know you're going to do it. Guys, drop a 400 in the comments if you want to see Logan go out there and hit Hall of Fame. We're excited for you. We're proud of you, man. And we cannot wait to see what you do. Thank you guys so much for joining us on the call tonight. I hope everybody has an amazing night. We will see y'all next week. New time, 5 p.m. Eastern time, 2 p.m. Pacific. Look forward to seeing everybody on live dials, and everybody have a great week. Talk soon, guys. Peace out, everybody.